Everybody who registered is going to get a copy of the recording just for posterity, and in case there are any technical difficulties up front. The audience is muted. We do encourage questions. If something pops up while Reed is going through the presentation, please feel free to type it in the IM window. I'm going to be monitoring that, and I'll just interrupt Reed as we go along. And I guess with that, we'll turn it over to Reed, the Chief Technology Officer here at New Signature.
Hi, everyone. My name, as Christine mentioned, is Reed Weedor. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at New Signature, and I'm excited to be able to talk to you today about helping to deliver a better customer experience, hopefully an amazing customer experience to the customers that you serve. It's a lofty goal. We're going to walk through that and explain how Parature, an organization that was founded much like New Signature on the idea that you can provide a better customer experience, has a series of tools that can help your organization reach those goals. I encourage you to ask questions throughout, and as Christine mentioned, she will interrupt me as we move through the process. So first, a little bit about Parature, the organization. They were acquired by Microsoft last year. They've actually been in business for over a decade and have served a number of end users. The great thing, as you'll discover as we walk through the process, is that even though you may not know of Parature, that's primarily because they've helped their customers achieve high goals in customer satisfaction while remaining behind the scenes. A lot of the infrastructure that deploys and supports many of the global brands that you use and love every day is actually built on top of Parature's products. So let's talk a little bit about how the world has changed over the past, I'd say, 5, 10, even 20 years in terms of what customer service is supposed to be like. And certainly we see this every day with a level of frustration that we feel as consumers. A lot of the time when you're trying to get a problem solved, whether it's being on an airline or with a cable company, you name it, with a particular product that you purchased at a store, a lot of those common ideas for how you'll have that customer service experience have changed. In the past, a lot of the customer service I would say expectation was that you would go in physically to some location and you would have that device or that problem solved. Think about your cell phone today. You would have to go to a particular store 5 or 10 years ago to get most of your problems solved. Today, most people, if they don't have the time simply to do that, want to be able to do it themselves. They want to be able to use the internet, use the web, look up an answer quickly, and solve that problem without having to reach out to someone and call someone or go physically into a location to get that. They also want to be able to do that without having to even be physically in their office. They'd love to be able to do that on their mobile device with their cell phone. If something comes up, if a television breaks, or if they're having some issue with a particular service they're subscribed to, rather than having to jump onto their laptop or tablet, they really want to be able to do that from their cell phone and mobile device. And that's something that 45% of consumers have said. If you have a mobile experience, a better mobile experience than your competitor, you would be willing to switch over. That's a huge business reason to try and provide some level of mobile experience to your customers. And finally, social has become increasingly important over the past, especially the last 5 years. There was a time where people viewed social as something that was done that was unconnected to business. But these days, and I'm sure you guys can think of examples in your own life, you've seen tweets explode, videos go viral. All it takes is one negative social experience to negatively impact your firm significantly. I know that if that particular person working at your firm delivers a bad customer experience to a customer, that customer could go out on Twitter, immediately spread it to all of their followers, and that could end up hurting you that same day as people start to cancel your service. So it's important to recognize not only do you need to have a great experience through those social channels, but you also need to be quick about responding to it, because frequently, whether you have a defect in your product or just a perception that there's something wrong with a product you make or a service you sell. If you're not responsive, if your social team takes 2 to 3 days to respond to a particular complaint by a customer, that can be interpreted by your customer as you not caring about them, and that can in turn go back to them having a negative attitude. These are all new concepts. When you think about social or self-service capabilities, these aren't things that really existed 10 or 20 years ago. And so it's been I would say, a strain on a lot of the organizations that are out there. When you think about a traditional customer service business, an organization that has perhaps a help desk or a call center, traditionally the problem has been one around cost. It's been, we have a set amount of money that we can afford to spend for customer service. The business wants to drive that cost down. Ultimately, though, the cheaper you are, the less you spend on customer service, the worse the experience is for the customer. So a lot of large firms frequently in the past took an opinion that let's just balance it. We know we're going to get some complaints. We know we're going to get some people who love us. Let's just pick a number and set it at that. And the problem with that approach is twofold. The first is that if you're just arbitrarily setting a number, you're not really thinking about the entire cost of sales, because it's important to recognize that not only is the customer service aspect of your organization important to deliver people to be happy with the product that they've purchased, but it's also a great avenue to provide excited customers a chance to evangelize about your product or service and hopefully close some more sales. So when you think about the customer service angle as purely being a cost center, that's probably a little bit of a narrow lens to look through. The second component is that there are multiple channels that customers can call in and be supported on. And frequently what's easy for a customer to do may not be easy for a business to perform. So customers ultimately want to be able to self-service as much as possible. They want to be able to ensure that they can get their answer very quickly. That may be expensive for some businesses to spin up. It may be more technically complex. It's relatively easy to hire 10 people and tell them, hey, you're going to answer the phone. It may be more difficult to explain to those individuals, now you're going to have to monitor Twitter. Now you're going to have to monitor Facebook. Now you're going to have to create and maintain and really act as a governance agent for a knowledge base and make sure that it has accurate information within it. Those are different skill sets. And again, some businesses have challenges moving between those. Ultimately, though, every single business wants to continue to drive down the cost. And to do that, they want to drive customers to the most effective mechanism for them solving their problem. If a person can go to a website and answer that question in 1 minute themselves by self-service, not only does that provide a great customer experience, it's also an incredibly low cost to the business. So you want to ensure that those easier problems are solved via those easier mechanisms of self-service, moving up to more dedicated methods. You might have a chat or IM or social channels, all the way up to an actual telephone call, let alone a physical visit. That switch in how you can service your problems has also changed in general across how customers behave. So in general, when a customer calls in over the phone and says, hey, I'm having some issues with your service, and they've already sent you an email request, or they've already filled out a form on the website, if you say your very first question is, hey, I'd like to help you out, but I really need to know your name, I need to get your account number, I need to get all of this information from you, that causes dissatisfaction. And we've all been victims of this. I'm sure many of you have been on a phone tree in the past when you've called into a particular service and they've asked you to input, your 16-digit account ID into the phone tree. And after you've done that and waited on hold for another 30 minutes, you pop up to a human, and the first question the human asks is, hey, can I have your account number? Or what's your name? Having those siloed interactions is a key driver of dissatisfaction across the customer service landscape. When you start to look at organizations that have improved their customer service, they've really moved from siloed support ones to ones that expand across multiple channels. That's not only phone and email and web, but social channels such as Facebook and Twitter. It's allowing people to have access to a mobile device that lets them support it. Nothing's worse than if you have a problem on your cell phone and you have to call into the provider and the provider says, well, I need you to call me on another phone. You may only have that cell phone. It's a horrible experience to say, okay, well, let me track down someone else's cell phone or get to a hard line or go into my office to do that. And being able to support and service those customers, regardless of the channel they come in, is critical. Now, it's important to recognize that simply being multi-channel and having different channels available is not the be-all and end-all for most organizations. Why? Some of those channels may not be ideal for a customer service interaction. I use Twitter as an example, or even Facebook. If a person has a complaint on Twitter, it's very difficult in the character limits of Twitter to provide an adequate response and to have a conversation that not only solves the customer's problem, but also ensures that other people who have the same problem will get their problem resolved more quickly. Twitter is just not an effective mechanism for that. So rather than using Twitter as a channel of customer service, what you really want to be able to do is to do that customer service cross-channel. So if someone says something negative on Twitter, you may respond on Twitter and say, hey, I'm sorry that you're having a bad time with our particular product. Let me get a customer service agent to reach out to you over email or to reach out to you over phone, whatever you would prefer, to be able to ensure that we can solve your problem. Being able to do that channel switching is critical because ultimately you also want to be ensuring that those customers are satisfied at the end of the day. Twitter is not built from the ground up to provide an easy way to track customer satisfaction or to tie in when someone is emailing, using the phone, tweeting on Facebook, etc. And so you need tools that allow you to aggregate all of those different interactions and to know if a particular customer of yours tweeted that they were unhappy a couple days ago and then emailed you yesterday and then called you today. That should be an indication that they are very unhappy because they're switching channels themselves to try and get a different customer service experience. And so if you're focused on delighting them, you really need to ensure that regardless of the channel they come in, that you can connect that into one true vision of the customer and provide adequate support. And that may mean having escalations built into your response to say if someone switches across these channels, maybe a manager needs to reach out to them rather than just a customer service agent. What is ultimately driving that dissatisfaction? Well, there are two sources of tension, and I think we've all been there. Many of us who have run customer services organizations in the past have dealt not only with the frustration of customers, but also the agents themselves. It's difficult if you're running a call center or help desk to be able to find the answer to your problem quickly. It's difficult if you're flipping between 30 different panes of glass to look up customers' information, to tie it back to other systems. If a customer's call information is in one system and their email information or web form information is in another system, it's just difficult to aggregate that together. And when you're sitting there saying, hey, I know that you're telling me that you called in yesterday, but I don't see that, or that's a different case within our system, it can be extremely challenging for customer service agents who are, again, your brand emissaries. They're the ones who are carrying the message of how great your organization is to their customers. So it's important to be able to recognize what they're able to do. Now, customers, on the other hand, they have similar frustrations. Being forced to go through complex phone trees, being able to say to a customer service agent, hey, I know that I'm having this problem, but what about everyone else? I can't be the only person who's calling in saying the service is down right now. I know that other people are impacted. What are you telling them? And finally saying, hey, look, you're providing me such a bad experience. I'm just going to go to a social channel and tell everyone what you're doing to me because I don't have any other leverage. I can't make a threat. I've already paid for your product or service. The only thing left to me, the only amount of agency I have is to go out and scream from the hilltops that everyone should not be using your service. And those are honestly bad situations to be in. What's the Parature answer to that? It's to provide self-service a useful knowledge base, and multi-channel support, and hopefully diffuse that tension. Because by the point you've got your customers yelling at you, you've already lost that customer. You've probably lost a lot of other customers. The best news in this situation, and I've been there myself, is that when customers are dissatisfied and when they've been used to poor customer service, it doesn't take a lot to get them back on the right track. It just takes someone to know their information, to get them an answer to their question quickly, and to maybe provide them some sort of benefit after the fact to really win them over to your customer service area. So even though this may seem like your current customer service problems, I'm here to tell you that you can get beyond that. Now, how can I be confident of that? Well, Parature has a rich success across a number of different industries, across over 3,000 brands. Many of the brands that you work with every single day, the government organizations, the consumer products, the associations you belong to, leverage Parature to provide a better customer service experience than their competitors. And that's why today we're going to go over what Parature can actually provide. Now, I like to include this slide to go over what some of those items are, because we're going to cover these in our talk today. And it's important to recognize these are all tools. Ultimately, you need to have customer service representatives who are intelligent, who are empathetic, and who are capable of using these tools properly to deliver that experience. So I would be remiss from having worked in the customer service business for years if I didn't say that you could take any person who is a customer service rep and make them a great service rep. Tools are part of the equation, and these tools will help you be better. Ultimately, you need to make sure that your customer service reps are doing their job and are really brand evangelists for your organization. If they're not doing that now, that's not going to change once the tool set gets much, much better. So what does that look like? Mobile case management. One of the big gaps right now is that many customer service representatives are tied to systems that look like they were designed in 1985. And they only render on certain desktops in certain locations within certain parts of the environment. If you want your customer service reps to be evangelists for your organization, they need to be able to solve problems rapidly, and they need to be able to do so on the devices that they use. So making sure that they can solve a problem with even something as simple as a cell phone can make a huge difference in the life of your customer service representatives. And if those representatives are empowered to solve those problems quickly with a mobile case, it makes it much easier for all of your customers to do so as well. So making sure these are benefits for both sides. It's not all the customer is only getting great tools. It's also the rep is getting great tools to make sure that they can use it. Making sure that you can survey the voice of the customer. Being able to track this is critical. And when you think about, this is really a trailing indicator during the customer service experience. And we've all been there where an organization has asked, hey, would you mind filling out this web form, or would you mind taking a short phone call after the end of this process? It's important to recognize that those surveys are really just an indicator of how well that problem was solved or how well that service was delivered. If you're not doing that, then you're missing out on key numbers to help identify who are your best customer service agents and where are there problems that we need to be able to measure and interact with. And even the largest organizations out there frequently have problems with this because customers ultimately want to self-service as much as possible. And taking that additional step to get this survey may be something that's a challenge in your organization. You want to make it as lightweight and as easy to fill out as possible so that you can quickly get feedback and take actions immediately. Ensuring that when your customers are on social channels like Twitter or even sources like YouTube, if they're watching a video of your product and they have some comments or thoughts or questions, the ability to rapidly go in and answer those questions or concerns quickly is critical, not only to providing a great customer experience to hopefully make them happy with the product they already purchased, but also in many cases, they're just evaluating the product. They're doing their research, they're doing their due diligence, they're looking on YouTube, they're asking people on Twitter. If you can get in front of them, you could actually end up benefiting your sales process greatly. Most customers these days are 70 to 80% of the way through the sales process before they reach out to your sales team for something. They're doing that research on their own. And so if you can get in front of them, if you can start having that conversation more quickly on those social channels, it gets you a foot in the door much more rapidly versus your competitors. Facebook. Almost everyone on the globe is on Facebook these days. What's important to recognize is that many organizations lack a true business Facebook-oriented portal page. With Parature, you can spin up a Facebook portal that allows you to post key customer service information, and it lets customers self-service directly through Facebook. So rather than having to flip off of the Facebook page that they're on and go to a website or go to a physical store, they can just within the Facebook portal ask common questions, get them answered, and move on and continue to work. And that's ultimately, again, providing a great experience to them because they're not having to shift even between websites. They can simply live and die on Facebook and be getting helpful tips and tricks through that page. It's always true that having a robust knowledge management system is going to ultimately drive your success as a customer service rep. It's rare that many customer service reps can solve problems independently of a knowledge management system. Now, certainly more veteran agents, people who've been working a couple of years in a particular industry or for a particular product, may have enough institutional knowledge to be able to answer some common questions quickly. But as soon as you start to talk about large volumes and large numbers of customers, it's important to recognize that that knowledge that you build up, the specifics from everything for how you set up the product to common troubleshooting tips and tricks, how to restart it, those are things that you really need a knowledge management system to be able to build out. And the best part is that customers are increasingly savvy these days, and they want to have access to that. They don't want to be told, hey, there's a very long procedure that I need to walk you through. They just want to be able to look up on the site and do it themselves. And many of the customers that are out there today, they're not pushed away or turned off by knowing they need to do a soft reset of their cell phone, or they need to go through a registration process of that new service that they just acquired. They just want to know how to do it. And so if you can provide them knowledge in the form of a knowledge management site, that can really drive up the customer satisfaction that they're not having to go and make a phone call, which can be seen as onerous or less effective. Making sure that you can use that from a mobile device is important. And making sure that you can have a discrete customer portal is important as well, because a lot of organizations that are out there will have a very robust website, but when it comes to customer care support, will simply direct people to an email address or a phone number and effectively say, call this phone number, this is how you get support. And ultimately, this goes back again to that level of effort required of your customers. Most customers recognize that there are benefits to talking to a live person. But they know there are negatives too. They know they may be stuck in a phone tree for a number of minutes, if not more than an hour. They know that when they get through that phone tree, they're going to start at the first level of support, which may be the most junior members of your customer service team, and that it may take them time to escalate up through the process. They may not have a way that they can accelerate to get to the person they know. Ultimately, they just want their problem solved. They know there are some people or some answers out there. By being able to spin up a customer portal and allow people to self-service through a mobile interface, that lets people do it on their terms. They don't have to be sitting at home or in the office. They can be on the road. They can be in a coffee shop using their mobile device to put in the information they need to get their problem solved more quickly. And finally, it's seen as kind of boilerplate now, but not having web chat capabilities is a huge negative for many firms. Making sure that you can go in there and say, hey, I noticed that you were on the site. I noticed that you were looking for information. Can I answer your question more quickly? Is seen by most customers as a lighter weight, easier mechanism than picking up the phone and calling for all of those reasons I just detailed before. The chat is there. It's popped up. It's right in their face. They haven't had to wait 45 minutes. They haven't had to escalate. They can see if it's a quick question via the web chat, and maybe if it becomes more complex, the person chatting with them over the web might suggest that they call into a phone tree, and that again aligns well with customer expectations. They expect if they have a quick question, they may be able to self-service that or use a web chat. If they have a more complex or they've called in several times, they may go to the phone mechanism as the first mechanism in. So we're going to go through some of these capabilities so that you guys can see what those actually do. So self-service all up as a concept on the Parature side is a couple of different components. It's a portal, it's a knowledge base, it's an ability to have a centralized file repository for files and support documents that you need to download. All of this designed around the idea that if individual customers reach this area, they should be able to get everything they need in one location. You obviously need to offer self-service. I think being able to provide an engagement that works around the clock can save you lots of money. Making sure, and there's a series of cost benefits to this that I think is critical for business decision makers, but every single email that you save going to your support team saves you costs. Every single phone call saves you a huge amount of cost. Making sure that people can get self-service is not only a benefit to the customers, it's also a benefit to you as a business. And if you have a robust self-service offering, it means that your customer is going to walk away thinking, I did 5 minutes of research, I solved this problem, that would have been 45 minutes on the phone or a couple days of back and forth emails. I feel a lot better about this company and their product services. What about that portal? Because I think a portal is critical as well. I said originally during the opening that a lot of the brands that you work with are using Parature, but that you might not have heard of them already, and that's primarily because Parature's portal is designed to integrate within your existing web offerings. So it's very easy to make it look and feel exactly like your website so that no one at any point recognizes that there's a Parature solution running under the covers that is actually providing the customer service experience to you. What's an example? Here's the Ask.com Help Center. When you start to look at this, this is, if you go to Ask.com, you could go there right now. It looks exactly like the rest of the website. There's nothing indicating that this is Parature to the obvious to the layperson who's using it. Yeah, some stuff that's floating up there. We've got a tip of the week in there that's being built out of Parature. We've got some Help Center links, again, flowing up through Parature. And then we've got some social items that are all surfaced up there. So even though these components are Parature driven, it's not going to actually be exposed to an end user, someone who's clicking on those Help Center links or looking at the tip of the week, that there's a third-party tool running. One of the other big benefits of using the Parature portal is it can be a seamless log-on experience across all of your web properties. It runs from a mobile device very easily, and it can work across different languages, which is something that a lot of global organizations are increasingly looking to be able to do. Ultimately, that knowledge base is built by your own customer service team. You can ensure that as content is surfaced there, you have custom publishing workflows to make sure that things have to go through an approval process before they get on there. Content searching is easy, and you can actually include multimedia within that content. It's not just all a text-based process to light it up. Again, the goal here is to reduce those customer support questions via phone and email to make sure that they're having a better experience and to ensure that repetitive inquiries get solved very quickly rather than having that flow through and take up time of your team. So I've shown here again the Ask.com portal FAQ. You can see we've got a couple of items within here, and you can even directly talk to people if you want to within the site without having to hop out of the site. So it has a great series of information, but ultimately that call to action is if you don't understand this, you can talk to a person and get an immediate answer from them as well. So it helps modify that channel switch if you need to. What about multi-channel? What about people who want to be able to be doing items in different mechanisms? And Parature is there with a couple of features to ensure that when people are coming in via different channels, be it the web or social or email, that those can all be addressed via a single set of tools. So you've got a Parature Service Desk is the first component of this. It allows you to really look at all of your customers' interactions. So rather than siloing out email and chat, social and mobile and the rest, it'll let you see all of those interactions in one place. It can run on a mobile device, so you don't have to worry, hey, what if my customer service reps aren't in a traditional call center sort of environment? And you have the ability to ensure, even if you only have a browser, that you can get through and provide that customer service. If you want to, so here's a quick screenshot of the mobile device. It's relatively easy on a mobile device to go in there and answer questions and move through the process. If you got a web browser, you can obviously come in and start to look at your activities and tasks and questions that have come in, and even plan out your calendar from that perspective. We discussed chat earlier, and I think it's critical to the success of most businesses these days. You want to make sure that when that chat window is popping up, that you can ideally, hopefully solve the problem without having to channel switch them. They've already self-serviced, ideally as much as possible. Now's the time that their questions are a little more in-depth. You need to have a human there. You want to make sure that they don't get off of your site and start feeling bad about it. You want to make sure you solve their problem quickly. And you want to make sure that that response is not only quick, but that it's personal. Ask them about the weather. Make sure that you chat about the problem they're having in a personal way. You don't want them to feel like this is some sort of auto robot answering their question. You want it to ensure that they know there's a live human on the other end solving their problem. And that's critical for two reasons. There have been many surveys that have shown that if you have an empathetic connection with the person supporting you, that you will leave with a better customer experience. And on the flip side, if as a customer service rep, you're able to establish a rapport with the person you're supporting, you're less likely to feel that your job or the task that you're working on is something that is not important to the organization. So it's important for both directions. Ultimately, problems will occur that need to be tracked via an incident management system, and Parature includes a ticket management system to ensure that those complex issues, the ones that can't be solved quickly, can be tracked. Doesn't matter whether that comes in via the portal or an email or someone tweets about it. All of those areas can be flown into a ticketing system. You can ensure that you do run analytics on it. And ultimately, for easy stuff, you can build those items back into the knowledge base, and more complex ones, you might end up just keeping inside an internal knowledge base system to ensure that other people can solve it more quickly in the future. Social is the final component here. Being able to do that monitoring is critical because you want to make sure that when people are saying things on social networks like Twitter or Facebook, that you get a response back via that same channel, but that you also, if you need to, channel switch it to something from a support perspective. So the social monitor can go out there and look at particular tweets, and you can even run it on your mobile device, the same as the regular experience, and you can respond directly to people who are tweeting about your organization or your product in real time. Now, ultimately, simply responding to them quickly is part of the process. Making sure if it is a complex problem that you switch them to another channel is also key critical to ensuring they have a good experience. Finally, from a Facebook perspective, you need to be able to do exactly the same thing. If people have questions or concerns, here's a quick screenshot of what that looks like. Any questions submitted via the Facebook plugin for your particular Facebook portal site will simply create a ticket and then allow you to track that ticket within the back system, ultimately providing a more positive customer experience. The best part about that is if you're already in a tool like Facebook, unlike something like Twitter, where there's not really a list of common questions, with Facebook you can actually surface that information to have self-service items within there, so that if it's common questions, rather than even creating an incident, they may be able to select that common question based on the number of views and hits that people have hit, and then solve it themselves. And the best part is that self-service tracks back to your top-level self-service page as well. Some people are more friendly using traditional web pages. Some might be more on Facebook. But all of that information, because it's residing in the same spot, can be surfaced in both areas. So ultimately, when you think about Parature, you really need to focus on the people that it's solving and the people who are doing the customer service themselves. It's all built around that idea of an agent and managing cases. That's ultimately what most traditional customer service firms understand. People call in, they have problems, you want to be able to manage cases with them. I've worked at many organizations where even getting to the knowledge management level is a hike. And that's unfortunate, because if you don't have a robust knowledge management system, if you don't have something that repeatable information can be stored in to help solve future problems more quickly, it doesn't matter that you have a robust case management system. You've got to have knowledge management. It's got to span those silos. It can't be tied down to the phone channel versus the email channel versus the social channel. It's got to be accessible to everyone in your organization, because otherwise it's not going to be used and it's not going to provide answers more quickly. Having those self-service portals layered around that knowledge management, for many companies, this was the ultimate dream. 5 or 6 years ago, was trying to drive down the cost of service, trying to provide support 24/7, and ultimately giving customers a better experience. And it's key. Just getting that knowledge management isn't enough. You really need to now start focusing on what the customer wants. Customer wants to solve it themselves. You want them to solve it themselves. It's in everyone's best interest if you spin that up. And that extends ultimately out to the idea of multi-channel engagement. Regardless of the channel they come in and have questions, you need to be able to make sure you're answering them. And I'll tell you, if you're not on one of these systems, it doesn't matter if you as an individual personally don't use Twitter or you don't personally use Facebook. Your customers are using Twitter. They're using Facebook. And if they have concerns about your service, the worst situation would be one in which a large community of individuals are opining on Twitter that your company is doing a poor job of communication, and you don't know that they're saying that. So using Parature, you can ensure that you can engage them across all of those channels. You can ensure that if it's something that needs to be tracked in a case management system, that you do so. But even just owning that communications channel is critical to ensuring that your company continues to grow. All of this is, of course, powered by Parature, which again, you can be confident that they've got the customers and the brands have been doing this for enough time to know that the service itself is rock solid, and it's not some sort of fly-by-night organization. The fact that Microsoft has acquired Parature last year just goes back to the strength of the organization. They have the best service, is recognized. Certainly Gartner recognized them in customer service, and that's a strong foundation to build your customer service experience upon. So one thing I wanted to do at the conclusion was, if we have a little time, show off a couple of the customers that have already deployed Parature and show what some of those environments look like. Christine, do we have any questions that I can answer before I drive into those examples?
We do not at the moment, no.
Okay, great. Well, let me go ahead and dive into a couple quick customer examples in the time we have left to show off what Parature actually looks like from an end user perspective. So I'll start here with IBM. IBM's one of Parature's biggest customers. They use it for all of their customer support mechanisms. And this is their customer portal. So when an individual has issues and needs to get assistance at IBM, this is a page that's built upon the Parature stack. You can open cases immediately. You can track all the cases that you have. You can see what those knowledge base answers are that are more popular. You can have a chat conversation with the individual who's manning the support desk. And of course, you can search their entire knowledge base. So all of this, the entire page really, is built upon the Parature solution to allow you to get support and service as quickly as possible. Here's another example of a knowledge base. This is actually for Cisco. And this is showing you what a knowledge base could potentially look like when you deploy it. It's got a potential question that you want solved, what the solution is, and then it's showing you content based on the particular item that you had, because you might only have reached this particular page either directly via a web query rather than self-servicing it within the site itself. Ultimately, you want to know if this information is useful or not, and that's why the user feedback process is within it, and the feedback to the author is within it, because if these pages come up, you want this to be a living document. The whole benefit of self-service is not that you're publishing these articles from on high and they know exactly how to communicate it directly to your customers. It's going to be a conversation, and that conversation might take 1 or 2 or 20 revisions to resonate with customers. But I'll tell you, if you have a good knowledge base article and it's been revised by customers through feedback, that's going to provide a lot of value to other people. Here's an example of the EPA's Facebook site. I encourage you, if you're on Facebook or want to browse to it directly, you can actually see this. And this is just a standard Facebook page, but the EPA has used Parature to provide a portal to allow common topics to be answered. So it's very quickly to come in there. You can have a chat with a person. You can ask a question of the support. You can self-service those items. When you think about large government organizations, perfect examples of where there are going to be lots of repetitive questions. People may be unaware, what's under their jurisdiction. They may not know what they're able to even regulate or have control over or authority over. And so having these popular questions listed can certainly drive down the number of calls and emails that go into that customer service call center that's probably running across the country. When you look at it from the administrative side, from the customer service rep side, this is an example of what a B2C chat window might look like. So I'm actually within the Parature solution here. As soon as I do, it gives me information about the customer. I can see some common responses to the types of information that this person is chatting about. All of this data is being captured from the website and passed back to me, the agent, and I can see multiple interactions. So I can see maybe they've had 3 or 4 different chat experiences in the past. And I can, of course, internally have some chats with my own team to say, hey, I've got someone on the chat right now, they're asking a question, I don't have an easy answer for them, what should I say about this? So being able to manage all of this in real time is critical to ensuring that the end user has a great customer experience. What does that look like on the mobile front? The customer experience is that I can go into the mobile site, I can go into the support center, I can ask questions, browse the KB, I can reach out to chat or contact with people, I can have a phone call. If I'm an agent, I've got the same capabilities. I can solve tickets, post comments, I can provide additional info, I can even merge cases from the mobile device. So it's a mobile first experience for both types of individuals, which again will hopefully provide a better experience to your end users as well as your customers. From a social perspective, ultimately you want to make sure that you're answering questions in as rapid a cadence as possible. The worst scenario that I described earlier was going in and not being able to answer something within a timely fashion. And timely could be 15 minutes to 20 minutes, depending upon the industry that you're in. So being able to filter based on specific keywords, making sure that you can look at the right source. You might decide that your teams, some teams are better at Twitter or better at Facebook. You might have a social team that handles multiple types of social network. Being able to tag those posts and look for specific items, depending upon the volume that's coming in. You may be listening to every single direct message, or you may be listening to just generic keywords that are coming across that you need to be able to do. Anything that comes in Twitter, you can certainly respond to. Ultimately, you may want to create an incident for some of the things that come in. And that, again, can be a powerful, a compelling process. Nothing is more effective than turning around a customer who's unhappy, who posted something on Twitter, giving them a free product, giving them a free month of service, doing so through a ticket or incident management system that goes back and says, we know you had a problem on January 11th. We're really sorry. Here's a free cup of coffee or whatever to get you back on the right side. That can be an incredibly powerful brand building experience. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention why Parature was added to the Microsoft family of services. Dynamics CRM is the most compelling customer relationship solution management system out there, and the acquisition of Parature fills a gap that they've had for a number of years in the area of knowledge management and case management. And so if you're not using Dynamics CRM today, or if you're just starting to go down the road of customer service and trying to beef it up, I would strongly urge you to take a look at the Dynamics CRM solution. Microsoft finished the acquisition last year. They've set up connectors between the services. Over the next 6 to 12 months, there are going to be likely greater degrees of connectivity and collaboration between the two services. Right now, agents can already create cases in Dynamics. They can look for knowledge that's contained within the Parature site, and they can actually self-service to get those answers, and even grab content from the knowledge base directly and throw it into their response to the customer. So working together, Dynamics CRM and Parature can provide an incredibly amazing experience for your customers. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time today. If there aren't any other questions, we'll be happy to chat with you offline about your customer service needs.
Thanks, Reed. I'm going to